I'm Max Talks Movies, and today I'm breaking down episode 5 of the Disney Plus show and the Marvel show, Secret Invasion. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe, ring the bell. I do movie reviews, these types of TV show reviews weekly, as well as other box office breakdown show every single Monday, as well as other movie rankings. So please subscribe, ring the bell if you're new to the channel. So please subscribe, ring that bell. Comment down below, like the video, guys, as well. As I said, comment down below. Let me know what are your thoughts on this new episode of Secret Invasion. One episode to go. So where do you think the show will end? Are you liking the show? Not liking the show? What do you want to see in the finale? Let me know. Like the video. The thumbs up button really does help support this channel, guys, more than you guys know. If you're not familiar with YouTube, helps the algorithm so more people will be recommended to my video. So please like that video. That will help a lot. So as if you're new to the channel, this is the first time checking out my Secret Invasion review, welcome. The first two episodes I thought were fantastic, and I thought the show has kind of gone downhill for me since episode 3 and 4. I just weren't big fans of. And while I think this episode is a big improvement for me over the last 2 weeks, I don't think this is just a great episode, even like a solid episode. I think it's a good episode of Secret Invasion. I think the biggest reason why is that Olivia Colman is also back this week after not being at all in last week's episode. But so this episode takes place obviously right after the last one, where Talos dies and Fury walks the president into the hospital. And this is where he's basically stopped. He can't go into the hospital room because the president's having surgery. He sits outside, and Hela will then run into Rhodey. So the plan has changed at the beginning of this episode, where before, as Gravik kills Pagan, as Pagan is basically blaming him for not killing Fury. Talos, he thinks Talos is a really good death for them, but he says Fury is still alive and the president is still alive. He kills Pagan in front of everyone, and Gravik's obviously finally losing his people, basically, right now, running his group. That was obviously exploited by that one guy who was the person that Gaia brought into the group. Which I thought, again, was very interesting. We'll get into the action scene in just a second. So the plan changes because before Gravik has his whole talk, he has the call with, Skrull version of Rhodey, where he's basically like, he, first of all, not just should he tell the president that he saw Skrulls, but they're working with the Russians. And obviously with the help, Sonya Falls, played by Olivia Colman, actually sends Rhodey after interrogating those two doctors, she found out where those Gravik and his people are located, because Gravik wants them to bomb that, even though it will kill a lot of the Skrulls and humans inside, to start World War III. And he wants a U.S. strike on Russian soil to start World War III. And Skrull Rhodey explains to the president by saying, we could have World War III, or we could basically all be extinct very soon. So that's the way he explained it. Also, before Rhodey went to go see the president, obviously he ran into Fury. And this is where basically he was like, you're about to be the most wanted man in the entire world, because he literally, a minute after he talks to Fury, he posts the video of, obviously Gravik as Fury killing Hill in the first episode. So that is now out there. He's got no one else to really support him. So Fury then goes back to where we saw that flashback in 1990 with Fury and the couple Skrulls who went with him to Earth 30 years ago. And this is where he meets Gaia. They talk about, and Gaia's obviously very mad. And she's basically, the only reason why I left my father is because he was never going to win. But again, obviously she feels really bad for him. And Fury leads her to Priscilla to bury Talos. I don't know how they got Talos's body back. He was kind of left in the middle of the road by Fury. I don't know who didn't pick it up. They didn't really explain that. So she goes to Priscilla and Fury's house, and Priscilla knows how to bury him and knows the prayer. She really feels like she let him down. And they have a cool little fun action scene between Gaia and Priscilla. I think this probably had the best action, I think, of the whole show so far, other than the first episode, I think, of the whole show, in a while at least, with this action scene. And we also had to get a great scene with Gravik, where He is the guy who, Gaia brought in. He's like, I'm very scared. He says, give me a second. Someone's talking to Gravik, and a couple of his own Skrulls who are behind him start attacking him. And I think this is the best scene I think that Gravik has had all show, where he basically obliterates like 4 or 5 different Skrulls, and it's very viciously. And I think he finally, I guess, felt like a threat this episode. I think the show is kind of struggling with that, but he really does feel like a threat this episode. I think Gravik really needed this episode more than most of the characters. It wasn't like he did anything special, but the action scene of him killing, especially that one guy, really viciously and violently, I think was a good note to add in as well. So I say after all of this, Fury is going to, as I said, Falsworth didn't interrogate the doctors who are running the Super Skrull thing. And we basically learned about this harvest, which is the name of the episode and is going to be the key moving forward. Now, in the comics, the Super Skrulls weren't just people who got these powers like they do in the show. Like we've seen the group powers called Obsidian, the Frost Giant powers. You've seen some of those, and they're really just the Groot and the Extremist powers. But in the comics, the Super Skrulls were also people who could impersonate the Avengers. And we finally see that in this episode with the Harvest twist, which is what is a deal that is set up between Fury and Gravik. That Gravik said, I'm going to call off World War III if you can give me the Harvest, which is what Fury is planning to do, but obviously with some help. And in a conversation with Fury and Falsworth, we learn that the Harvest is basically after the Battle of Earth, with the Avengers, even Carol Danvers bled, a group of Skrulls who only Nick Fury knew about and he sent in, picked up these Avengers DNA. And that has turned into the Harvest. And this is what obviously he really wants to do with the Super Skrulls. So, Falls, it's basically all your fault. He says, yes, I wouldn't be back if otherwise. He gets the Harvest from his tomb in Finland. Also, before this, we get the returning OT Fabangeli, who is in Black Widow as Mason, the person who set up Black Widow with all the planes and all of the different identities. So Mason came back in this episode to help Fury out. Also, not just with that, but also with the Widow mask that we've seen since even Winter Soldier. So then Fury goes back, gets the Harvest, gets his vintage gear, and he tells someone in the phone that it's time to finish this. So that is the episode. I do think with Talos being such a major death on the show, I just didn't feel like any of the characters, really except Gaia, took the time to really settle in on Talos' death. Now, yes, World War III is on the line. I also think they gave a really bad explanation by Fury to Falsworth why. Again, Falsworth does ask him at his, tomb, basically, why can't you call any of your super friends? And he's basically like, I don't want to call the super friends. This is my problem, and I could protect this world better than them. I think they just gave a really bad explanation why they couldn't bring any of these major superheroes into this Disney Plus show, probably for budgetary reasons. And when he explained it, it just wasn't a good enough reason why there's so much on the line. Again, this could be World War III. Why couldn't the Avengers? Because again, these are cosmic things going on. Why can't any, if not just one of the Avengers, help out? I think that's what next episode is going to be, because I don't know who he's talking to when he says it's time to finish this. I don't know if that's Captain Marvel. Because again, we already know based on the trailers that Fury will be in the Marvels, which comes out later. The next Marvel project, which comes out in November. So I'm very interested in how they end the show. I just wish they said a little bit more of an emotional gut punch of the Talos death, because he is definitely dead. They burned his body and everything. We'll see if we get to get Rhodey, the actual Rhodey, back, if we get the actual Everett Ross back. If there's more cameos, which I really do think I will expect next week. We'll see if the Super Skrulls truly use the Harvest and Gravik is using Avengers-like powers next week. If he is, we're going to have to see some superheroes in the show. So So that's my thoughts. There is very much a mixed bag of a show for me right now. I like the action scenes this episode. I just didn't feel like we felt that emotional gut punch with Talos, and I just think his explanation of why he does not need the Avengers was a bad one. So that's my thoughts on episode 5 of Secret Invasion. What are your thoughts? Comment down below, subscribe. I'll see you guys soon.